This is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, coming to you with another awesome interview with another awesome person, because I always interview awesome people. Isn't that just amazing? So I'm really excited for you guys to hear his incredible story. He just graduated from the program and he has just made amazing changes in his life. And for those of you who don't know, what we do here is we help people to just get free from their food crazies. Like if you're struggling with your relationship with food, binge eating, bulimia, overeating, any sort of disordered eating, there is absolute freedom possible for you. Like you're not broken, nothing's wrong with you. Like you can simply just be over it. And so that's why we love to talk to amazing people that have been through that same journey, because I know that when I myself, who was bulimic for years, was on the other side of it, like I wondered, like, can you ever get over this? Like, is that even possible? So want to give you hope there. And really fun that we are interviewing an awesome guy today, you guys, because this is something that comes up. I mean, the number one cause of eating disorders is dieting. And women are very specifically affected by dieting because of how society really pressures thinness for women. But they're not the only ones who struggle, right? So sometimes I get the question like, why don't you coach guys? And the answer is, I do coach guys, you guys. Just know that. So it's really fun that we have a guy on the show today. And he just has an incredible story, an amazing experience, and is just a really awesome human. So, Esteban,
Hello.
welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So happy that you are here. Just excited to celebrate you. And why don't we just get started with you just introducing yourself a little bit? Like just, say hi and tell us a little bit about how this all started for you. Like a little bit of your journey, how you got to this place where you just weren't happy with your relationship with food.
Oh, well, of course. Well, my name is Esteban. And well, it all started kind of not dieting itself, but I love running. So I was trying to keep my weight as low as possible and stuff like that. And then I started overeating and binging on food, and it was going worse and worse with time. Of course, I was gaining the weight by the day, binging pretty much every day as well. So it was very bad. And for me, always like the solution for that was restriction and avoiding foods, avoiding some situations. And I used to have tons of food rules. Like I was very strict with my food rules, especially like eating only at certain times, eating only a certain amount of meals. So yeah, it was bad, and I was isolated. So yeah, that's pretty much my story with food. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's absolutely understandable. Like I know that a lot of times when we start, eating in ways that we're not happy with, that it causes issues with lots of other areas of our life, right? Like you were saying, you felt isolated, and you had all these food rules you were sort of living by. So what was sort of a normal experience for you, Esteban, when you had your strict food rules and you would go outside of those food rules or something was off? Like what would happen?
Well, first of all, I used to get very anxious because it was okay, I'm not following my rules, so that means I'm gonna end up binging. Probably not today, but certainly tomorrow or in 2 days or something, but I'm gonna end up binging because I'm not following my rules. So it used to cause a lot of anxiety. And yeah, it was like, okay, I was not perfect today, so that means I'm gonna binge. So it was an excuse to binge already. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that you bring this up. This is a really sort of common pattern that we get into is we start building these sorts of strict food rules and then we start making these decisions like if this happens or doesn't happen, then I will have to binge. And we
Mhm.
feel totally like we're not in power because it's like, oh, okay, well, I broke this rule, so now I have to binge. And then we do, and then it just sort of reinforces that. And when we're believing that, that's what happens. So that is just really awesome that you're willing to sort of share that story there. So Esteban, tell us a little bit about, I know that you said that you were avoiding things, that you were isolating. What sorts of things were you missing out on in your life that you enjoy, that you would have liked to do, but because of binge eating that you were not doing?
Well, especially, like I said, I love running, so I ran with a group of friends pretty much every day. So, especially on weekends, they go out and have breakfast or dinner, depending on the time we're running. So, I was trying to avoid those situations because it used to cause a lot of anxiety. Um, yeah, because I didn't know like what can I have there, what am I going to eat, and since I didn't know what I was going to eat, in my head it was, oh, so maybe you're gonna end up binging. So yeah, I was trying to avoid those situations, like especially with friends in general. So yeah.
Yeah. And how important was it for you? I know that you love the running, so you're missing out on that. How important was it for you to just be able to be with friends and like hang out? Like, was that something that you were wanting to do?
Yes, of course, because yeah, in the past I had a very hard time as well, like making friends. So now I worked on that a lot and I made a lot of progress. I now I have friends, but usually when you go out with friends, the first thing that you do is like go eat something. Like it's pretty normal. Like normal eaters go out and eat. Yeah, so
Yeah.
of course it was like uh, something very important in my life. Like I wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to go out with friends and don't worry about coming back early or something because I have to eat at home. So now that I can go out and eat and not binge, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so a lot of times, and it sounds like this is what was happening with you, Esteban, was that our life sort of gets smaller and smaller because we
Hmm.
have to, or we feel like we have to cut out things to try to avoid binging. And
Hmm.
then the things that we love sort of go by the wayside because our whole lives are managed around how do we just not binge? Like, did you feel like
Hmm.
that was pretty much life, was like, how do I not binge?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I know that can be super frustrating. So for you, what made you know that you had to change something? Like, why did you make the decision to make a change instead of just trying to kind of go along and manage this? Like, why was it important for you to end this habit?
Uh, because I think like I felt that this was kind of my, I don't know how to explain this, but my last opportunity maybe to make friends because in the past when I was in Ecuador I was so isolated of this because of me avoiding these situations. So now that I'm living in another country and making a lot of new friends, it was for me like I don't want to do that again. I really don't want to do that again. I want to be able to go out and enjoy my time with my friends. And yeah, so that was very important for me. It was like I really want to be able to enjoy my, I mean, I'm pretty young, so I want to enjoy my time with my friends and not worry about food. And I felt that I was not going to be able to fix it on my own. Like I tried many things and I was avoiding many things, but it was not working. So yeah, and I really know that how can I say this? Like I felt that this was a great opportunity and a great approach to end binge eating. So yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
beautiful. And I love that motivation of just like you wanted to live your life, you knew what you were doing wasn't working. You're like, okay,
Mhm.
like this has got to happen. So I want to applaud you. I'm so proud of you for making those changes, Esteban. Like you have done the work. incredible things, and I definitely want to celebrate that, where you're at now. But just wanted to, looking at the side of things, kind of where you were at before we started working together. Anything else? Any other way that the binge eating was just really impacting your life that you wanted to share, sort of from that side of it?
Well, I felt like a liar all the time because I mean, I'm an athlete. I'm vegan, so everyone was like, "Oh, you should be like so healthy." So a lot of my friends asking me for some nutritional advice and stuff like that. And I felt so bad talking about that because it was like, if only they knew that I'm not healthy at all. Like I have this habit and it's so bad. So yeah, that was very bad, very bad. Like, I mean, I felt so bad about that because I was binging pretty much every day and at the same time, like giving advice on how to eat or what to eat. So yeah.
Yeah. And I know that's such a hard place to be, and you're absolutely not alone in how you are feeling. I mean, there are so many people that I talk to that it's just like this feeling of being out of integrity. It's really interesting. A lot of us who are binge eaters kind of have this identity of health. Like
Mhm.
maybe some of us, even for a career, like we're in health. And then it's this feeling of like, if they only knew, right? And it
Mhm.
makes us feel out of integrity. And I know it's a really rough way to feel. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
So then, da-da-da-da, we started working together, and it's just been like so much fun. And in just, a handful of weeks, I mean, you have come so far. So tell us where you're at now. Like, what are you celebrating the most? What can you do now that you could not do before that you are so excited about?
The very first thing, of course, I'm so excited that I'm not binging anymore.
Yeah.
And also that I know that even if I, I mean, I don't want to do it, but if it happens, I know what to do. So I feel that I have enough tools to deal with that. And now I go out with my friends, and even if I feel this urge or if I have these thoughts, I know how to handle those situations and I don't binge. So that's amazing. I'm enjoying my food. I'm enjoying the food that I really want to eat. I'm not forcing myself to eat the foods that I don't want to. So yeah, that's amazing as well.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. So it sounds like just getting your life back, like doing the things that you love, the running and the being out with friends. And
Mhm.
yes, that's all just so beautiful. And on this side of it, like, how is that different than before? Like you said, like, oh, if you're out with friends and you feel the urge to binge, you just know what to do and you just don't binge, right?
Mhm.
How would that
Yeah.
have gone in the past? If you were out with friends and you sort of had those urges to binge come up, what would have been the result?
Well, first of all, I used to get so mad at me because it was like, you're still having these thoughts, like if it was my fault, like something was wrong with me, like why do I keep having these thoughts? So I used to get mad at me or sad, and eventually I ended up binging. Like it was like, oh, I'm having these thoughts again, so it doesn't matter, I can binge again. So yeah.
Yeah. And I know that that's a tough cycle, and the fact that you are out of that is just so fun and exciting. So what are some celebrations along the way? Like, what are some of your big wins that you've had that's like, whoa, that would have never happened before, and that you're just like amazed that you can do now?
I am amazed that, well, probably this is not a big thing for normal eaters, but now for example, I can even have food in my room and I'm not afraid that I'm gonna end up binging on that. Before I used to like kind of avoid food at all and I was so worried. So now I can also, for example, before I used to buy only like the smallest servings of everything, like the smallest. box of whatever or cereal or whatever because I was so afraid that I would binge on that. So now I can buy whatever I want, and I just put them in my cabinets or my like in my kitchen, and I'm not afraid that I'm gonna end up binging on those. Uh, I know how to deal with these thoughts, so and I don't feel bad now when I have these thoughts. It's like, okay, I know that's part of the habit, but I know how to deal with them now. So, yep.
Yeah, that is so neat. And like you said, for a normal eater, that's like, oh, what? But like for those of us who have struggled or do struggle with food, like that's one of the fun wins along the way that's really common is surprise food. We were talking about this in the group the other day, just like
Mhm.
the surprise food of like, oh, that's just been in my room for a while. And like
Yeah,
that would not have lasted more than maybe a day or a couple of hours, right? And
yeah,
it's like there's just like all of this surprise food in your life where it's like,
yes,
oh, there's
that's
just
true.
food lasts forever.
It's so true. And I remember just a couple of days, I found some food, it was like some crackers in my room, and it was I had even forgotten that I had that food in my room, and it was like, oh, I had food here, and I didn't even remember that I put this here.
Yep.
Yeah,
That is so fun. And you know, these are just cool mile markers of normal eating, right? Like you can just have food, you can forget about it, it can just be there for however long. That is really,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Anything else that you are celebrating that's just really fun on this side of it?
Well, yeah. I mean, now I don't feel bad of having how can I say it, like my own preferences. I mean, in the past as well, for me, recovery uh, would have mean that I should eat like everything, like I should be able to eat everything. That was recovery for me. But now it means like I can eat whatever I truly want to eat. Yeah, I don't need to eat something that I don't like or I don't want to eat. Um, and also, I'm so happy that during the program I realized that restriction is just part of the habit, and it was so important for me, and it's still so important for me because when I was binging, I was so focused on the binges themselves. Like, um, it was for me like only the binges were the problem, not restriction. Sometimes I was even proud of restriction, if that makes sense. But when I noticed that it was so important because um, allowing yourself to eat whatever you want, anytime you want, like, and letting go of these rules, it's so important. It has prevented me from so many binges. So yeah, I'm celebrating that as well.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing to celebrate. And you bring up something so great, Esteban, about how there are pieces to this that are essential for recovery, and that could
Hmm.
vary from person to person, right? Like that's why we do what we do. But I mean, for you, like that restriction piece, that was something that wasn't even on your radar of something to fix. Like you were
Yeah.
like, oh, that's something I'm proud of. And that was something that was keeping you in the cycle. So I think that's just a really great point to bring up that, like, you know, if what you're doing isn't working, there may be something that you're literally not seeing and you would never see. Like you would be
Hmm.
proud of it going on without realizing, like, oh, wow, that's part of the problem. That's one reason why I'm in this cycle. So that is just such a cool thing to bring up.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And as you went along in this process, Esteban, like, what have been sort of, if you want to share, like some ups and downs, or like, you know, were you skeptical at first? Like, I don't know if this is going to work, but then you're like, oh my gosh, this works. Like, any sort of ups and downs that you wanted to share?
Oh yeah. I remember the very first time that because when we started the program, I didn't binge like for 2 weeks or something. But then I did. So it was like, oh my God. So this is not gonna work. But then I remember I talked to you and I told you what happened, so we could kind of fix it. And of course, I think it's very important to stay open-minded, like all the way throughout the program. So I did what you suggested, and it worked. So and then I had like some every now and then I have like some slip ups, but every time I asked you and I told you like, well, this happened and how can I fix this? Uh, it was great to have like an answer to those questions and to kind of analyze what happened. So yeah, I mean, and I remember that the very first time that you said like, don't worry about telling me what actually happened. Like, don't be afraid of telling me because these sleep ups and these kind of relapses, if that makes sense, are pretty normal. Like, you can learn a lot from them and you can build a stronger recovery. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And do you feel like that's been the case? Like, do you feel that sort of like the coming back from the slip ups and the things that you've learned, do you feel like that's been a valuable part of you being free on this side of it?
Yes, of course, because I learned a lot from them. I have learned a lot from my sleep ups, and every time I had an sleep up, it for me like the very first thing that I thought it was like, oh, I should go back to all my food rules and avoid all these foods. But it was so good to have your support and know that that was not the solution, and it's never gonna be the solution. So yeah.
Yeah. And Esteban, I am celebrating you. I am so proud of how coachable and open to this you have been, and you have done the work. Like I've guided you, but you have done the work, and like that's a main qualification of the program, right? It's like
Yeah.
you've got to be in there and you've got to be doing it and you've got to be practicing, and you did. And it's just been so fun to see all of this freedom and possibility open up for you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything come to mind for you that is so awesome on this side that you never even considered, like that has kind of surprised you, like, oh wow, like these principles have really helped with this area of life, or like, oh wow, like this is really awesome and I didn't even know I could be free in this way? Like, does anything pop into your mind that's sort of in that category?
um well, I think so, because now I notice that we like it's pretty normal as humans to have a lot of different thoughts throughout the day and our lives, but they are not always true. So you decide how to react to those thoughts. Like, for example, sometimes I don't feel like doing homework, and it's like, oh, I should go to bed or whatever. And it's like, oh no, that's not me. That's not me. I have to do this and it's okay. I can do it. It's not that bad. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
really, really great point. I mean, so many people go through their whole lives just believing their thoughts, just thinking,
Mhm.
oh, I'm thinking this, so it must be true, or I'm thinking this, so it must be how I actually feel. And
Mhm.
so I'm so excited for you to have these skills of being able to examine your thoughts and then you decide, like,
Mhm.
hey, it doesn't matter how you feel or what you think, like you get to choose what you do, whether that's how you eat, eating with your preferences, doing your homework, like all of this
Yeah.
stuff is available to you. It's a beautiful thing. So anything else on your mind that you would just want to share with those listening about, your story, or, just advice that you would give for somebody who is maybe in the place that you were before you started this program?
Oh yeah, especially as a guy, I I'd like to say that you don't have to be afraid. Like, this is normal and you're not diseased and you can overcome this. And also another very important thing, like I said, it's to be very open-minded. Sorry, that's my dog.
It's all
Uh,
good. We've seen dogs and cats on the interviews. It's all great.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's very important, especially if there's a guy out there struggling with these issues. Um, I just want to tell him that you shouldn't be afraid of this. Like you don't have to be ashamed, and you can overcome this. And the very first thing that you should do is like be like open up to someone you can tell this and start from there. So you can overcome this, and you're not diseased, you're not broken, and yeah, just be open minded, and you're you can have freedom.
I love that, Esteban. That is beautiful advice. That is golden, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, you know, for being on and sharing your story and being such an incredible example. I am so incredibly happy for you. And, you know, one cool thing about, like you said, like, you know, you're young and, you know, you've got your life ahead of you. I mean, it's never too late to recover. There are people who have been binge eaters for literally 50 years that have graduated from the program binge free, and that's awesome. But I also think you're a really cool example of like fixing this in life sooner than later, right? It's like now you've got like a binge free life ahead of you, you know? And it's like because you fixed this, you didn't wait for so many years. So proud of you for fixing that and being open, doing the work, being willing to share your story. That means so much to so many. So anything else that comes to your mind that would make our discussion complete today, that you'd be like, oh man, I wish I would have said that? Or do you feel like our discussion is complete?
Oh, well, I just would like to add for the people who will watch this video that never give up. Sorry. Sooner or later, you will find a way to be free again, and just try to stay strong. I know how difficult it is sometimes, and I know by myself that sometimes you just want to give up and say like, okay, I'm done with this. And so, I mean, just never give up, keep going. Don't feel ashamed, like I said. uh, Even if you don't find the answers, telling other people about your problem, it's gonna be better. You will feel uh, their support, and that's so important in this process as well. So just keep going, be open-minded, and you will be free.
Beautiful words. Thank you so much. Thank you for being on and for sharing your story, Esteban. I'm so happy for you. And I mean, amen. Like, listen to those words, you guys. Like, yeah, don't give up. Just keep going, right? So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on, Esteban. Like, I appreciate you sharing your story and just so happy and excited for you. And you guys, if you would like some help, like if you're struggling and if what you are doing is not working, like don't feel like you're alone. Like,
Yeah.
man, there are so many people, including myself, who it's not for lack of trying, right? It's like you're trying a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
if it's not working, it may be that you just need a solution that works. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
It's just
Hmm.
like you may need something that works. Totally. So, I mean,
That's true.
how Esteban actually got started is he signed up for one of our free sessions, and that is there to help everyone as long as our calendar can handle it, right? It's like we have a huge demand. We won't be able to talk to everyone, but we try to open up as many openings as possible. And we do free sessions to help everyone get the first solid step to recovery and to
Hmm.
get that there in place. And that's how Esteban started. He just signed up for a free session, and he happened to, after we got that step, qualify for the program, and he decided to move forward, which is awesome. You may or may not qualify. That's fine. Either way, you're
Yeah.
going to get that first step to recovery. So, you know, the qualifications for that are this has to be a huge priority in your life. It has to be one of the highest priorities to be done with your disordered eating. And it's only for those with the disordered eating with like overeating, binge eating, bulimia. Um, uh, we don't work with those who are anorexic. That's a different thing. But if you meet those qualifications, and the third thing is that this can't just be like a better way to diet, right? This can't be like, oh, maybe this will give me some tips to be able to lose weight better. This is
Yeah.
about your relationship with food. So if you meet those qualifications, you can go to Lydia Wente, LYDIAWENTE.com/apply. And if there are open spots, I would snag one right now. Just find a time that works for you. And you can also go to lydiawente.com so that you can, there's a free ebook there. We have an amazing Facebook support group. So yeah, those are our two wonderful, or three great resources for you. And yeah, I mean, everyone who starts this journey thinks, man, maybe I am broken. Maybe this won't work for me. Maybe I'm the only one it won't work for. And so I hope that, you know, with amazing stories like Esteban's, you can see like, hey, you know what? Like, there are so many people that can have freedom. Like, I believe that anyone who wants freedom can have it if you have the right tools and the right help. Like, absolutely. So thank you for being another witness to that, Esteban. I'm so happy that you have been on. And this is Esteban. And this is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, signing off. Mwah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
You have so many options. You can watch more videos. You can subscribe for new videos every Monday. You can even join our Facebook group with an amazing support community.